In this video, we're going to talk about the moment that every single one of us has to touch and frequently get back in touch with in order to become the unstoppable force, in order to become that entrepreneur, in order to have that internal motivation to get over the hurdles that are waiting for all of us as we try to build our businesses. If you don't touch this moment or don't get back in touch with this moment, my experience, 15 plus years of doing this, you have no chance. I want to start with assuming that you want to be a coach. I want to start with why. What's your why? What's your purpose? What's your drive? What's your motivation? I'm going to dive into this a little bit today about how to get to that place where you can't stop. How you get to that place where you have unstoppable motivation. That's one of the things that so many people are looking for. Is how do I stay motivated? How do I get motivated? How do I stay motivated? And I think it's one of the main reasons that people struggle with this is because I don't think we actually understand what motivation is. So I want to dive into that. I've been doing this for a long, long time. I've been coaching for over 15 years, been really helping coaches get better at coaching and build businesses for over 10 years. And I'm constantly focusing on what the distinctions are. Why do most coaches fail? And most coaches fail. And there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean that the coaching industry is illegitimate for whatever reason, or it's not valid. I mean, most people who go to college don't get the grades that they want. Most people who invest in the stock market don't make money. Most marriages fail. So just because most people fail in a certain industry with a certain opportunity, that's a human issue. That's not something that can be ascribed to the entire industry or to the entire product or whatever the thing is. So when I say that, I don't mean to, try to be negative in any way or be any kind of a buzzkill, because you have a choice. If most people who want to be coaches fail, and if you know there's a recipe for failure and there's a recipe for success, then you get to choose which side of the percentage are you going to be on. You're going to be on the big side, or you're going to be on the small side. If you're going to be on the small side of the percentage of the people that actually succeed, well, you got to do what they do. And knowing what the big side of the percentage does is really critical, because that's what obviously most people are following, the recipe that fails, because most people are failing. So I want to give you a little bit of why it fails, but primarily why people succeed. I want to talk about the small percentage in this particular video. And so one of the things that I've been focused on and asking people is, why is it that you're doing what you're doing? Because if I know what your reason is, then I can pretty much tell you whether you're going to make it or not. Just because I've seen it so many times, right? And it's not so much what you say, it's really how you say it. It's what's underneath the words, right? Because if you don't have the right fuel, then it doesn't matter really what kind of car you're driving. Meaning, in the coaching context, if you have the right website, if you have the right marketing tools, if you have the right team, if you have the right support system, if you have the right things to do, but you don't have the right fuel, then it doesn't matter. And I've seen so many people that have the right things. They've got money, they've got time, they've got work ethic, they've got talent, but they still fail. Or if they achieve a level of success, they don't achieve the level that they want. So why is that? Why is that? And in my experience, is because they don't have the right fuel. They don't have the fuel that they really truly need to get over the obstacles that will present themselves. If you've signed up to be a coach, especially if you want to be in business, you've signed up for a series of obstacles. Now, that's not why your ego signed up. That's not what you consciously signed up for. But I'm telling you, if you signed up to build a business, if you've signed up to play the entrepreneurial game, you signed up for a series of obstacles. Whether you know it or not, you did. So the question is, do you have the fuel to get over the obstacles. If you don't, then it doesn't matter. See, you can be the fastest runner in the field. You can be the world record holding sprinter. But if you're in a hurdle race and you can't jump the hurdles, then it doesn't matter how fast you run without the hurdles. What matters is, can you jump the hurdles? And if I don't run as fast as you, but I know how to jump over the hurdles and you don't, I'm going to win the race every single time. So if there are hurdles, you need to know how to jump over them, or find the path that has no hurdles. I've not seen one yet, especially in the entrepreneurial game and definitely in the coaching market. There is no path without hurdles. Yet, so many people are wanting to find the path without hurdles, and therefore a lot of people are selling the idea that there is a path that exists without hurdles. And a lot of people will pay money for that path because it sounds so good, right? If I could just avoid the hurdles, I could have the best business. I could be the best coach. And especially, see, if you'll remove the hurdles for me, but then, that path that's like straight, could you just bend it down a little bit? Could you give me a little bit of a decline also? Can you remove the hurdles and then give me a 5-degree decline? Or maybe 10 or 50. If you could give me a 10 or 50-degree decline with no hurdles, then I'm 100% guaranteed to stay committed to this road. The reality is, it's probably the opposite. It's probably a 50-degree incline with hurdles. So the question is, are you going to learn how to overcome the hurdles? Because that will be the biggest variable. It's not what you can do in between the hurdles. It's, do you have the muscles to get over the hurdles on the path that you signed up for? That's the main trait that you need to build. That's not what almost anybody or almost everybody is actually looking for. What most people are looking for is how to avoid the challenges, how to get the shortcuts, how to find the guaranteed path or the guaranteed tools that somehow removes the hurdles and makes the road declined. So for 15 years, I've been looking at what's the distinction. Why do most coaches fail? And for the small amount that succeed, why do they succeed? And it's not talent. It's not intellect. It's not money. It's not anything that almost everybody's trying to buy. It's none of that. What I think it really is the piano bench moment. Do you have the piano bench moment? Now, you might not have, probably most of you will not have a piano bench moment, because that's my moment. That's my moment. In 2005, I was at a seminar and I was told, it was a business seminar, I was told to do a process where we write down where we want to be in our business 60 days from now. 90 days from now, rather. So I wrote down the 90-day goal, the same 90-day goal that I've been carrying around for a long time. I want to have this business. I want to make $100,000, because the facilitator said, I want you to create a goal that's so big that if you and when you achieve it, you know that the work that you did here in this seminar is the reason why. So I said, okay. So I wrote this 90-day goal. All right, Miss Smarty Pants, I want to make $100,000. And then the next part of the exercise was simple. Just turn to your partner and share what you wrote. So I turned to my partner and I just start crying. For the first time in my life that I'm aware of, I literally could not talk. Literally. My throat had the biggest lump in it and I couldn't speak. And I just started crying. And so my partner asked me to come with him. He walks me over to the doorway where one of the co-facilitators is and says, hey, Matt, Sean's really struggling and he could use your support. Now, at this point, Matt is not watching us. He's looking in his day planner. He's looking down in his calendar, right? An actual paper calendar that tells you how long ago this was. Not that they're not around today. They are, but he was looking down in his calendar and he was writing something, and he heard this other man say what he said. And he goes, okay, I'll be able to speak with him after lunch. And then he looked at me and he saw the state that I was in. He saw the tears coming down my face. He saw the look of desperation. He saw that I was barely breathing, so much so that it stopped him mid-word. And here's what he did. He goes, okay, that's cool. I'll get with him after lunch. Ooh, this is about to come out. He got excited. He saw the state that I was in. He got excited. He pointed at me and he goes, this is about to come out. And so then he said, let's go. And he apparently, I don't know if he had to get rid of some of his appointments or whatever, but I followed him. And we go walking through the hotel. We're looking for chairs to sit in. And I'm just following him wherever he goes. I'm going to follow him at this point because I'm a mess. And we can't find anywhere to sit. So we go into the lobby and we look around, nowhere to sit. It's just a crowded, packed lobby. The only place to sit was at the piano. Nobody was playing the piano or sitting on the bench. So he sat me down on the piano bench. And he has me lean forward and close my eyes. And then he walks me through this process. And in about 15 minutes, he changes my entire life. He walks me through this visualization, and 15 minutes later, when I open my eyes, I literally felt like I was looking through a different set of lenses. It looked like the world's colors had just become more vibrant. I stood up and I felt like 50 pounds had just been released from me. As I walked around, you know how you try on new shoes in the store? Maybe you remember this as a little kid. You try on the new shoes, you get up and you're like, this feels good. You kind of bounce around, right? As though they've got springs on them. Maybe you, if you're like me, you do some running, see if these shoes will make you run fast and jump high. I felt like I was walking on a different set of feet. I felt like I was walking in a different body. 15 minutes later, I got up off that piano bench, my life never being the same. I went home that night. My wife asked what happened to me. I talked to my friends over the next few weeks. They all asked what happened to me. One guy stopped me in the middle of lunch and he goes, dude, what are you on? Because you're smiling too much. I've never seen this from you. And how do I get it? My life shifted so much. And I had one thought. People got to feel this. That was my thought. People gotta feel this. This thing right here that I'm feeling, they gotta feel it. How come I never learned about this before? I was so high on this neurological transformation, and I was so driven for one thing, to give people this feeling that I didn't think was possible. And when I went home and I created this vision, this dream, I just couldn't stop. I got on the phone and called people and asked them if they hire speakers. And I created events and I started writing curriculum. And one of the very first products I created was my version of the piano bench exercise. And we still teach it to this day in our events. Imagine that. Imagine if you could be on the piano bench and in 15 minutes have your entire life shifted. Would it be worth it? Or imagine you could be sitting next to the piano bench and giving somebody else their piano bench moment. What would that look like? What would that feel like? A couple months later, I emailed Matt and I said, Matt, dude, I don't know what you did to me, and I don't care if it's legal. How do I do that? Because everybody wants to wants me to do it to them. Everybody's asking me, like, what are you on? What's going on? Did you cut your hair? Did you do your eyebrows? Like, what happened? Something's weird, but I like it and I want it. And then he just told me, oh, it's this transformational coaching. Go over here and get certified. This is where I got certified. And so a few months later, I just followed in his footsteps. And that was my first introduction to neuro-linguistic programming. What he did to me was an exercise inside of neuro-linguistic programming that helped me uproot my biggest limiting belief, like taking the anchor that was at the bottom of the seafloor and pulling it up. It's like pulling the parking brake up so I can actually go as fast as my intellect and my body and my skill set would allow me to go. And life has never been the same for me. And so for 16 years now, my drive has been to give people their piano bench moments, and life after the piano bench is never the same as life before the piano bench. That's what most people are actually missing. Most people are actually missing a big enough reason to keep going. They're not missing the skills to keep going. They're missing a big enough reason to keep going. They're missing a big enough reason to learn how to jump over the hurdles. They're missing a big enough reason. They haven't crossed what I call the can't not line. When you get knocked down, do you struggle to get back up, or have you crossed that line where you can't not get back up? When you're rejected, you can't not ask somebody else. When you lose time or you lose money, you can't not try again. When you're struggling with websites, when you're struggling with marketing, when you're struggling with sales, when you're struggling with messaging, when you're wondering whether anybody's going to watch anything that you ever put out, you can't not figure it out because somebody needs you to sit them down on their piano bench. Somebody needs you to figure that out because they haven't had their piano bench moment yet, and they're waiting for you. There's somebody out there right now who is seeking the lessons that you have in your head. It's selfish to keep those to yourself, especially when somebody else is asking, demanding, praying, needing you to get over that hurdle because you have been assigned to them. You have been assigned to sit them down on their piano bench. Whether it comes through some online webinar, it comes through an in-person interaction, however it comes through, people have been assigned to you and you have been assigned to them. And it's so disrespectful to keep somebody else's breakthrough inside the confines of our ego's vault, of our ego's prison. That's somebody else's breakthrough that we're holding inside. Why? Because we're afraid of how we might look on camera, because we're afraid that if we post something that they might not read it. So let me get this straight. We're afraid that if we have somebody's piano bench, we're afraid that some people might not sit in it. The people that are not made for it, the it that's not made for them, we're so afraid of the people who might judge the piano bench that's not made for them that we won't build it for the ones that it is made for. See, our ego is so afraid of being judged negatively that it focuses more on the haters. It focuses more on the judgers. It focuses more on the people that your message is not meant for. That's what the ego does to stay safe. We got to look up over those people. The people who are assigned to us are usually not the ones that are in the front row. They're not the ones that we can see. They're not the ones that can currently see us. We got to be able to look over, not able. We got to be willing to look over those people because they're not ours anyway. They're not seeking us. Do we have what it takes to look through, above, and around our non-seekers to answer the call for and from our seekers? The people who are asking, they're sitting low in the back of the room. We can't see them where we are right now. Do we have what it takes to find them? Do we have what it takes to rise our platform up so they can see us? Because right now, they can't see beyond the people that are standing in front of them. And if those people that are standing in front of them are the ones that you're not meant to help anyway, how much longer are you going to let those obstacles be the reason that your seekers can't find you? That's what most people are missing. Most people have not crossed the I can't not line because they're focused on all the reasons why they can't. I can't build a website. I can't figure out the right price to charge. I can't get coaching clients. I've tried twice so far in the last 6 months, and I'm 0 for 2. I can't get out of my way. I can't get over the imposter syndrome. I can't get over this feeling of I'm not good enough. I can't figure out how to get more than 3 people to see my Facebook post. If you're focused on why you can't get over that hurdle, what I'm telling you is that your reason is not big enough. And it's not big enough as much as it's not deep enough. It's got to be deep. It's got to be in your body. You've got to have a bigger reason to get back up than to stay laying down. And what I've learned is that most people misunderstand what this road is. They misunderstand what's ahead of them. And because we misunderstand it, we think that when we are following the right road, we're on the wrong road. Because our ego creates this path that is smooth, has no obstacles, has no hurdles, got a nice little downward descent, got a nice little decline so we could just get on top of our skateboard or our bicycle and then just let gravity take us into the promised land. That's what the ego wants, because the ego doesn't like the idea that we can't get over the hurdles. The ego doesn't like the experience of failure. The ego doesn't like the pain. But here's what you've all signed up for. Especially if you're still listening to me 25 minutes into this video, what you signed up for is the road with the hurdles that will give you the opportunity to serve more people. Not give you the opportunity to collect more things for you, but the opportunity to serve more people for them. And this road is not smoothly paved. I don't care who tells you it is, it's not. The people that are telling you it's smoothly paved probably have something for you to pay, probably have something for you to buy, probably would rather you believe that it's smoothly paved so that they can take you on this smoothly paved road that doesn't exist. But the bumpier it is, the more valuable it is. Might not be more enjoyable, but it's more valuable. So what are you more committed to? The enjoyment of your ego or the value of your skill, the value of your purpose, the value of your work? Because those two don't live together. They don't even live anywhere near close to one another. So the higher the obstacle, the higher the hurdle, the more valuable the experience, the bigger the muscle. And most of the time, when we talk to people who are really struggling and who are really frustrated, most of the time, they're on the right path. They've just been convinced they're on the wrong one. And when the mind is convinced it's doing the wrong thing, following the wrong scenario or the wrong path and following the wrong recipe, the mind will search for the right one. But what if you're already on the right one? You've been convinced that it's the wrong one. So when you search for the right one, you're actually searching for the wrong one. And then we just follow the wrong crumbs, trying to get back to the hurdle-less road that doesn't exist. If you have signed up to be a transformational agent, a transformational coach, leader of any kind, the road must be bumpy. It must be. Tell me if you've ever heard of a leader who followed a smoothly paved road and you're like, oh, I can't. Tell me more of those stories where you didn't have to get over anything. Can you just tell me more of those stories where life was so easy and you just roll out of bed and snap your fingers and everything that you want comes to you? Tell me more of those stories. Have you ever seen a movie like that? Have you ever read a book like that? Have you ever lasted more than 30 seconds through a story like that? No, because those stories aren't valuable. Nobody wants to hear that story because nobody can relate to that story. So why is it that we sign up to serve people who are traveling bumpy roads and we think ours will be smooth? It's ridiculous. The bumpier it is, the more valuable it is. And I've learned that when your path is full of hurdles, those are your hurdles. Those are the ones that are meant for you. Those are the ones that you are meant for. Because every hurdle that gets in the way that you have to climb over or jump over or go through or figure out a way around, every single hurdle that's on your unique path is a lesson for you to pick up. Because there are muscles that you must develop to get over your individual sacred hurdles that can only be developed through your individual sacred failure. There are muscles that you need to develop that can only be developed through your struggle, through your self-doubts, through your wondering if you're ever going to be able to figure this out, through your wondering if anybody will ever hire you, if anybody's paying any attention at all, through your signing up to deliver a class that nobody shows up to. You have muscles that can only be developed in those moments. They can only be developed on stage with an empty audience. That just lit me up because I've been on stage with empty audiences. And that's the moment that I deserved, that I earned their attention the next time. There are a lot of people that aren't going to show up to your first time. They're not going to show up to your second time because they need to know if you have what it takes to try and try and try again. And the problems that they have in their life require you to try 10 times. They require you to try 20 times. They require you to get over the hurdles that they need to learn how to get over in their life. So it's a test. Are you only going to show up when the crowd is full, when the lights are bright, when it's easy, when you remember everything, when you don't have to jump over anything? Or do you have what it takes to get up and do it again when everything fails? Everything, including you. And this isn't all about me. Of course, I can only tell you my stories that really land with me, but every single human on this transformational journey is following the same path, only the details differ. There must be an obstacle that you don't think you can get over. On the other side of that obstacle is success that you can't currently comprehend. On the other side of that obstacle is a skill set that you don't currently have the capacity to deliver to other people. On the other side of the hills, the walls, the hurdles that we can't see over is another version of ourselves that we must at some point experience so that other people can have their breakthroughs. But their breakthroughs are on the other side of ours. So do you have what it takes to keep going through the rejection, to keep going through the conflict, to keep going through the people that are telling you that you're not doing the right thing, that are telling you you should just fall back on the degrees? Just on the other side of this wall, I got a master's degree. I got a bachelor's degree. And it's not in anything that I'm doing now. So if any of you have that story, I can relate to that one. Why don't you just do the thing that you paid a lot of money to do? There's going to be judgment. There's going to be questioning. There's going to be suspicion, internal and external. And what I'm telling you is not only is it common, it is required. All the things that your mind is trying to avoid are necessary for your growth. Let me say that again so it really lands. Every single thing that your ego is trying to avoid is necessary for you to grow. Your growth is necessary for you to succeed. So if you succumb to the desires of the ego to try to avoid all of those necessary lessons, you can do it. The way you do it is you stop trying. That's the way you do it. And it wins. That is the way to avoid all of those things that your ego doesn't want to experience. It's also the only guarantee that you could ever actually bet on. You're guaranteed not to grow. You're guaranteed not to rise yourself to the point where other people who can't see you now will actually be able to see you. That's the only guarantee I'm aware of, is that if you're more committed to comfort, you don't get to grow. And if you're not willing to grow, you don't get to succeed, nor should you. Not in this industry, not in this game that you signed up for. I don't think you should, because why would somebody pay you? Why would somebody follow you to give them the lessons that you didn't work for? Those are not lessons, at least not valuable ones. But if we don't understand that every single one of those hurdles is necessary, then it's just easy for us to seek the path that doesn't have the hurdles. And that's why we buy bullshit. That's why we buy it. The ego will write a big check to avoid the hurdles that it doesn't want to experience. But in that process, we're just avoiding everything. We're avoiding our confidence. We're avoiding our certainty. Because in order to get the kind of confidence and the certainty, you've got to know what it feels like to get back up. You don't need guarantees. You need get back ups. That's what you need. And you don't need secrets. You need support. You don't need somebody to tell you that you're not going to fall down. You need somebody to have a hand out and help you back up when you fall. Because if you're not falling, you're not running fast enough. If you don't have a bloody lip, you're not trying hard enough. Not in this game, not in the entrepreneurial game when we're talking about human transformation. You don't need confidence. You don't need tools. You don't need skills so that you can avoid failure. You need confidence that you will recover from it when it happens. It's not about learning how to not fall off. It's about learning how to get back up when you do, and two things happen. Number one, you're no longer afraid of falling, so the fall won't hurt as much. But number two, you won't fall as much. The reason you won't fall as much is because you'll have more momentum. You ever notice the difference between trying to keep your balance on a bike when you're pedaling extremely slow versus keeping your balance on a bike when you're pedaling fast? You could take your hands off the handlebars and the momentum will keep you going in a relatively straight line because of the speed of the pedaling. Most people are trying to keep the balance on the bike so that they can guarantee to themselves that they won't fall before they ever move a pedal, before they even put their foot on the pedal. You ever try to balance a bike without pedaling? That's where most people are in life, in any endeavor that requires personal growth and transformation, and definitely in this industry. The most valuable muscle you can build is your resilience. But there's a critical ingredient in the resilience recipe. That ingredient is failure. It is impossible to build a resilience muscle on the front side of failure. Resilience can only be built on the backside of failure. So if that's the most important muscle, but you're not willing to get to the other side of failure to build it, well, then how strong could the house of cards be? How strong could the idea of success be when I'm telling you resilience is a requirement and it can only come through failure. That's what most people don't get to, because they're afraid of the experience of failure because their ego doesn't like boo-boos. Okay. So rather than trying to learn the way to avoid the hurdles, I suggest you knock more of them over and learn how to get back up, so that you don't pressurize your efforts. A pressurized human is a less effective human, especially when creativity is involved. And if you've signed up to be a coach, especially if you want to build a business, creativity is everywhere. As pressure increases, creativity decreases. As creativity decreases, your ability to attract clients, your ability to attract money, your ability to be present in the moment when talking about any part of your business is impossible, because you've got this low level of confidence and low level of certainty, because you've just got too much pressure that it all has to be perfect. Really, you're just trying to avoid what you need. So I don't want you to think that you're trying to avoid failure. I want you to know that you're avoiding lessons. What if that's the way you looked at everything? What if you saw every single rejection as a requirement? So now, are you avoiding the pain, or are you avoiding the requirements? I don't know how a human could go, I'm avoiding the requirements, and be okay with that. How do you consciously choose to avoid the requirements for something that you really want? And every time you get back up, this is the key piece here. Every single time you get back up on that balance beam, you just increased your capacity. You increased your lessons. You increased your ability to help more people. Every time you fall off the beam and get back up on the beam, what if 100 new people just joined the crowd of your seekers? What if every time you fall off, actually, I'm going to change that. What if the first time you fall off, nobody joins? The second time you fall off, nobody joins. The third time you fall off, nobody joins, but they start paying attention. The fourth time you fall off, they enter the building. The fifth time you fall off, they take steps towards you. The sixth time, nothing. The 10th time. What if the 20th time you fell off and got back on the beam, that's when they started coming at you? What if the 20th time put 5 people in your following? What if the 25th time put 15 people in your following? What if the 50th time put 1,000 people in your following? My question to you is, how fast would you fall to get back up? Every single time you get back up, that's when they show. They don't show when you stay on the beam. They need you to expand your capacity by getting back up. That is resilience. And that's what transforms us as humans. And a transformational coach must be a transforming human. I used to say transformed human, as though there was such a thing as a transformed human in the past tense. There's no such thing as a transformed human, only transforming humans. There's no such thing as a healed human, only healing humans. But that ing is so significant, because as you are transforming self, you are transforming others. As you are healing self, you are healing others. That is a verb. It's in motion all the time, but it's in motion both ways. If you want to be a transformational coach, you have to commit to being a transforming human, yourself and others. That's how you command clients. Now, if you like this video, check out that video where I talk about the honest, transparent, and messy details of my journey of becoming a coach. When I was building this business, I was just willing to do anything new. I was willing to go to new seminars. I was willing to hire new coaches. I was willing to buy products. I was willing to try new things. I was willing to buy equipment.